How's it going, everybody? Ed Ricker here, surrounded by all my favorite DJI drones. We got the Phantom 4 Pro, we have the Mavic Air, we have the Mavic Pro. The Mavic Pro played a big role in my YouTube channel last year. I made a ton of videos about it, and thank you all for watching them and subscribing. I hope they helped you guys. Well, as of 10 a.m. Eastern Time, August 23rd, DJI has announced a couple new products. First of all, the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. And actually, I've got the Mavic 2 Zoom right here. Yes, DJI was kind enough to send me a review copy of the DJI Mavic 2 Zoom before anyone else got to see it. Yes! As you can see, they're still holding true to their original Mavic Pro design with foldable arms and foldable propellers. The camera right here is on its 3-axis gimbal, and this is the zoom lens right there. So here's the Mavic Pro, here's the Mavic 2 Zoom. The Mavic 2 Zoom is a little bit taller and a little bit longer. I mean, these are probably like just millimeters in difference, but it is slightly bigger. Now, like I said, they also announced the Mavic 2 Pro. That has a better camera. It might be better for more cinematic photography and videography, but this one has the zoom lens, and it's a 2x optical zoom lens. And then if you're shooting in full HD, you can use 2x digital zoom, and then you're getting 4x lossless HD zoom. Pretty impressive, and please zoom responsibly. A few of my other favorite features about the Mavic 2's OcuSync 2.0, which gives us 5 miles, up to 5 miles anyway, of full HD footage streaming on your controller, on your display device as you're flying this. Also, it has 8 gigabytes of internal storage, just in case you forget your SD card or fill it up. It folds out just like a regular Mavic Pro that we all have come to love. Boom. The Mavic 2 Zoom is 905 grams, and the Mavic Pro 2 is 907 grams, which is about 2 pounds. The Mavic Pro 1 is about 734 grams, or 1.62 pounds. So we're definitely talking about a heavier drone. It feels heavier. And I think a lot of that weight comes from the battery. Look at this huge thing. The Mavic Pro battery is much shorter than the Mavic 2 battery, and that's going to give us more flight time with the Mavic 2. 31 minutes as opposed to 27 minutes with the original Mavic Pro, or 30 minutes with the Platinum battery. One of my favorite things about the new Mavic 2s is that they have surrounding obstacle avoidance sensors. I mean, surrounding, all over the place. Sensor on top, sensors on the bottom, back sensor, front sensor, side and side. It has these low noise propellers with updated ESCs for quiet flight. And finally, it goes 45 miles per hour in sport mode, which is as fast as this thing goes, the Phantom 4 Pro. I'll also mention that the Mavic 2 Pro has the same size imaging sensor as the Phantom 4 Pro. The Mavic 2 controller looks just like the Mavic Pro 1 controller, but it does have the feature that the Mavic Air has, where these little thumbsticks are inside of the controller, and then you can screw them in if you'd like to do that, or it makes it easier for stowing into a bag. You can keep them in if you want, but this is nice. I'm using iPhone 7 Plus for my display device here. I'm going to take off the propellers real quick. I don't want to power it on and it goes whoosh. So, all right. We're going to start the remote control by pressing once on the power button and then again and hold it. Once on the battery of the drone and then again and hold it. Now I'm going to hit record so that we have this. There's our image. Check it out. Now the fan's kicking on. I actually just updated the firmware a few minutes ago, so the drone is still a little bit warm. You can hear there is a little bit of a whoosh sound. So we can tilt up and down our camera using our little shoulder dial there. And you can adjust how fast that tilts up and down. Now I did have to download a new DJI Go 4 version of the app on my phone because of the different things that have been added to the program. So for instance, on the right you see 24.0 millimeters. That's the lens zoom control. So now if we scroll up with our thumb, we can set it to 48 millimeter, which is the max zoom this lens is going to allow us. And we can zoom all the way in as far as it can go. You can also zoom part of the way, or all the way back out. As far as I can tell, the speed of that zoom is fixed. You can't just zoom in like really quickly. So as fast as this is zooming is as fast as the zoom will be. Now the camera on the zoom has the same sensor as the Mavic Pro 1, which is a 1/2 inch CMOS sensor. Now if you're shooting in HD, you can also punch in even further with the digital zoom and still get lossless 4x zoom with HD footage. All right guys, we are at the park. We're about to launch this thing, Mavic 2 Zoom. Let's find a good place to take off here. I forgot my landing pad, so we're just gonna use my bag here. Hope that's gonna work. All right, there it is. Very cool. So you hear it beeping, that's because we're in front of it, it's sensing us. That's the front sensors in action right here. All right, let's move around a little bit, see what we got. Wow, okay. So it's really quiet, sounds good, looks good. Feels just like a Mavic 1, honestly. Looks like one too, from up there anyway. We are at 1080 resolution and 30 frames per second. Okay, so let's try and zoom in on the skyline here and see what that image looks like. That is really awesome, just how far that zooms in. I'm not used to a Mavic Pro getting such a close shot of the Raleigh skyline like that. There it is, and then zooming back out. Now I do not have any ND filters or polarizers for this, so we're having to expose with just using a shutter speed that's ridiculously high. Right now we're at 1/1000th shutter speed. That's not prime. It feels really maneuverable and really responsive. Of course the Mavic always has, but this feels really good to me. Woo! That sensor is really sensitive. Like, listen, it knows I'm there and it's beeping at me 12 feet away. Now the Mavic 1 did have issues with 60 frames per second at 1080. I wonder if that's fixed or not. I'm gonna go to 60 frames per second at 1080. Ooh, okay, cropped in a little bit. Did you see that? Yeah, 60 frames per second now crops in on the image. Interesting. Oh wow, it's also looking very responsive on the screen. You actually see a 60 frame per second display. Now I'm gonna combine a 60 frame per second test with sport mode. See how fast we can get this thing. Okay, so obstacle avoidance is unavailable when you are in sport mode. That's not a surprise to me. Whoa. Yep, there's our 45 miles an hour. Wow, it's maneuverable too. That's sport mode for you. All right, I'm gonna switch to 4K. We're gonna do 4K at 30 frames per second. So we have a little wider image actually. 60 kind of cropped in, but even 4K at 30 still is wider than 1080 at 60. Okay. Now, let's zoom in with 4K on the skyline. There are a couple different intelligent flight modes that are unique to the Mavic 2 Zoom. One is called the dolly zoom, and it looks like this. Now I made a tutorial about how to make dolly zooms via editing, your editing software, but apparently this can do it all by itself. So the dolly zoom is when it travels backward, but it zooms in on you, so you don't really get that much smaller in frame or whatever subject that you pick. The background kind of moves around you in a really weird way. Let's land and put another battery in. I'm gonna change spots. Maybe I can get some cool shots closer into the city. All right, so it's the end of the second day with the Mavic 2 Zoom. It's a pretty cool drone. I wanted to share my thoughts on it now. There are a few things that seemed a little bit cumbersome, so I'm going to share those couple things with you guys. First of all, the switch on the side. It goes from tripod mode to positioning mode to sport mode. I find it very easy to hit that switch by accident, especially when you're putting this controller into your bag. A couple times I've powered on the drone and taken off, and it was stuck in sport mode. I did not know that until a few seconds into the flight when things weren't, when things got crazy. The drone is very quiet, and I really like that. The battery lasts a long time. The zoom is pretty cool. The digital zoom didn't work initially, but then DJI gave me a firmware update and then it started working again. So basically, if you zoom in, it'll go beyond that 48 millimeters, and that's just a really, really close zoom, really tight zoom. So that's pretty cool. The front and back sensors are on if you're flying normally. They're off if you fly in sport mode, but the side sensors only turn on when you are either in active track or tripod mode. They're not normally on in positioning mode. And so that was surprising to me because I was trying to fly in positioning mode and I thought, well, why does it only say that the front and the rear sensors are on? Well, that's the reason. They're only on if you're in active track or tripod mode. The range on this says up to 5 miles, which is improved over other drones by DJI. However, you got to think about line of sight. Are you going to be, and I'm not saying like legality, although that's a good thing, but also are trees and buildings in the way, you know, because if they are, you're not going to get 5 miles. You might not even get 5,000 feet. In fact, you might only get about 2,000 feet, which was my case when I was flying, you know, over and through some trees and some buildings and stuff. So you really have to take your environment into consideration when you think about max range. Active track turned out to be awesome. It really followed me well. I was running full speed through some sunflower, a big sunflower field, and it was tracking me just fine going sideways. And then it ended up stopping and hitting, not hitting something, but the side obstacle avoidance sensors did pick up on something as it was moving to the left, and it did stop the drone. So that was a good thing. The 60 frame per second footage for 1080 doesn't look that good. And if you watch my channel in the past and you watch some Mavic Pro videos in the past, you know that I don't use 60 frames per second with the Mavic Pro because it doesn't look good. The edges of hard lines look really bad. It looks mushy. It looks like there's ants crawling all over the image because it's so aliased and gross looking. And I really was hoping that this would be fixed with the new Mavic 2 series drones. Unfortunately, with the zoom version, I don't think that's the case. I think 60 still doesn't look that good. And that's in part because the zoom camera is, aside from the zoom lens, very, very similar to the Mavic 1 camera. And in fact, the sensors seem to be exactly the same. Now, if you went for the Mavic 2 Pro, which is not this one, the other one, I think you're going to have a much better video experience. And I do hope to get my hands on the Mavic 2 Pro, hopefully soon, so that I can test that theory out and see if it can hold up to the old Phantom 4 Pro in terms of video quality. All right, guys, the Mavic 2 Zoom. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Check the link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, click the link below this video if you're watching on my website, edricker.com, and you can learn more about this drone and the Mavic 2 Pro. And as always, thanks for watching and happy flying.